Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to another Tumbler tutorial. If you know me, you know that football season is my absolute favorite time of the year. I love watching football, it just makes me so happy. And I wanted to remake one of my more popular Tumbler designs. I made this original video back in July of 2021 and you guys really loved it. It was a really popular video, really popular design, and I thought it would be fun to remake that same Tumbler design with my current skill level and style and everything. We're not really going to change too much, but we're going to use a different tumbler style, some different glitter, and just give this design a little bit of a facelift. I will link the original video for you if you'd like to watch that as well. That will be down in the description box. Down there, I'll also have links to everything I'm using in this video, a list of all the products with discount codes, links to my social media pages. If you'd like to join my Facebook group or my exclusive mentorship group, you can sign up for that. Okay, I think that's it. I really hope you guys enjoy this facelifted tumbler tutorial. Let's go! For this design, we're going to be using a 25-ounce Oddball tumbler. These tumblers are shaped like a football, so they're perfect for our football split design. And I'm going to start out by splitting my cup in half vertically. There are a bunch of ways to do this, but lately the easiest way for me has just been to estimate the half of my bottom of my tumbler, measure to make sure I'm even, and then just try to get that tape coming up the sides of the cup as straight as possible. So I'm going to do that on either side of my tumbler, just bring my tape up the sides of the cup, and then I'll measure to make sure that those halves are as even as can be. This is honestly, if I'm being completely real, really hard for me. So if you struggle with this, it's totally okay. Just try to get your halves as even as you can. We're going to work on the darker side of our tumbler first, and that's going to be the brown, like football side. And we're going to make a custom glitter mix for this side. So I'm starting with Venti. This is from Peachy Olive Glitters. All of these colors are from Peachy Olive Glitters. And then I'm using Midas. I do have the recipe here, so I will list it down below in the description box for you if you'd like to recreate the same mix. Next, I'm taking French Press, and then I'm taking Cold Brew. I basically just pulled a bunch of browns and some like goldy brown colors. Then I'm taking Macchiato, and then finally I'm taking Golden Shores. I just wanted to have a little bit more of a sparkly goldy brown versus just a plain blah brown, if that makes sense. So I'm going to mix all of that together, and that's what it looks like. So now we are going to base paint our tumbler. I'm using brown iron oxide acrylic paint. This is the Ceramcoat acrylic paint, my favorite. You can get it at Target, Joann's, it's even on Amazon. It's my favorite. It's really affordable and has great coverage, as you can see. So I'm just going to paint this side of my cup with the brown paint. We only need one coat, and I'm going to let this dry for about 30 to 45 minutes before I go in with the epoxy method to apply my glitter. I'm going to apply about 1 milliliter of epoxy to my tumbler, and I'm using the Flynn Sisters Artist Cure epoxy, but you can use Fast Set too if you'd prefer that. Either one. Okay, so we've got our epoxy on our football side of our tumbler, so I'm going to go in with the glitter mix that we made earlier, and I'm just going to cover this entire side with our mix, including the bottom. Now, of course, if you want to go for just a solid brown, you can. I like the gold tones in the brown. I think it just makes it sparkle more when it's under epoxy, and I think it just overall looks better, but it's totally up to you. If you want to go just solid brown, go for it. Okay, so now I'm going to go right away and remove my tape. You don't have to do this right away. You can wait like 15-20 minutes if you want to, but I have a tendency to forget, so I'm just going to do it right now. Oh, a crisp glitter line just gets me every time. I love it. Okay, so now we can let this sit and fully dry. I'm probably gonna leave it overnight, but there's our brown side. Ooh, it's so pretty. Our epoxy glitter side is cured now for the brown. So we're going to move on to our green field section. We're gonna base paint this green, obviously, and we're going to use Cheermeister from Peachy Olive Glitters as the glitter for this one. We're not gonna make a custom mix. So I'm just going to tape off the sides of our brown so that we can mask it off and protect it from the green. So I'm gonna first take some electrical paint, and I'm going to mask off right past this glitter line here. Now I want to go very close to the glitter line, but I want my actual tape edge to be adhered to the tumbler versus the glitter, because that's going to give us a better seal and we're not going to have to worry about anything seeping into that glitter side. And we're going to cover up this little gap here later, so don't worry about that. We're going to cover it up with our vinyl striping towards the end. You just want to make sure that that gap isn't super large. So you can see those bumpy areas are where the glitter is, and then there's a little tiny smidge where the tape edge is adhered to the stainless and not the glitter. So now that our edges are sealed, we can take our regular painter's tape and just mask off the rest of this section just to protect it. You don't have to do this, but I always like to take the extra step just to make sure to avoid as much contamination as possible. Now the reason I use electrical tape for this edge is because I just feel like it sticks better to the glitter and to the edge, and then the painter's tape will stick better to the electrical tape. Painter's tape most of the time will lift off of your glitter, so you don't want to use that to like seal your edges. Electrical tape works much better in my opinion. Okay, so we're totally masked off. Now we can paint and glitter this section. Now it's been really windy in Mallory Land lately, so I'm going to use acrylic paint. If you want to spray paint, feel free. This is masked off and protected enough that you can go outside and spray paint it if you prefer. Totally up to you. The color I'm using is Christmas Green. This is the Delta Creative Ceramcoat brand. By now you guys know that's my ride or die. So I'm just going to cover this side of the tumbler with a really good coat of the paint. I'm going to let this paint dry for about 30 to 45 minutes, and then we will be ready to apply our glitter. For our glitter, I'm going to use, again, Cheermeister from Peachy Olive Glitters, and we're going to use the Crystalac glitter glue as the adhesive for our glitter. If you want to use the epoxy method or another adhesive method, go for it. You can use whatever you want. Whatever you're comfortable using is totally fine. So after my glitter is applied to my tumbler, I'm going to tap off the excess, and then I'm going to go through and remove all of that tape, including the electrical tape. And then I'm going to let my cup sit and dry for at least 2 hours. And once our glitter is totally dry on that green side, we'll be ready to seal it and then epoxy it. Before I seal it with my glitter glue and water mixture, I'm going to roll my cup on my scrap of paper. As you can see, I just want to flatten that glitter out a little bit. And now I'm going to take my favorite sealer. This is the Crystalac glitter glue mixed with water, and I just do a 50-50 mix, half water, half glue, and that's my favorite way to seal my glitter. I never get any movement or contamination or anything. It works out really, really well. So I'm going to seal each side of my tumbler individually, let that dry for 2 hours, and then I'm going to add 2 coats of epoxy to my tumbler. I'm using the Flynn Sisters Artist Cure Epoxy, and in between coats, I'm waiting probably between 8 to 10 hours, and each coat was about 20 to 25 milliliters. All right, so this is what our cup looks like after 2 coats of epoxy. We are going to clean up our top rim and sand that down really well. We'll also sand down the bottom rim just a little bit to smooth that out. Sand anything on the body of the tumbler that's a little rough, and then we'll be ready to apply our decals. After a nice hefty sanding, this is what our tumbler looks like. You can see I've exposed a very thin line of stainless steel up at the top rim of our cup. That's really important because that's where our final seal is going to be with our epoxy. You don't want your epoxy to come up to your top rim because it just is more risky that way. Having that thin line where your epoxy can adhere, keeping this clean, will help extend the longevity of your tumblers. So our cup is totally smooth, and now we can apply all of our vinyl and really finish this design out. So for the gold striping, I'm going to use my textured metallic vinyl. In my original video, I used a gold chrome vinyl, and I don't really like the gold chrome vinyl that much. It shows every little imperfection, and the textured metallic, as you guys know, is my favorite vinyl, and it really is super forgiving and super pretty. So we're going to use that instead, and I'm going to just place it right over our split, and we're going to cover up this stainless steel gapping here. And I am going to bring it around to the bottom. All right, so we're going to start with our green side here. And for the green side, we've got our decal, and then we also have our yard lines. We're going to start with the yard lines, and I'm going to see how much room I have left for my decal. I might have cut my decal just a little bit too big. So we're going to put these on first, and then we'll evaluate our decal. For our yard lines, we're going to line up the straight edge with the straight edge of our gold. So we want to make sure that everything is straight and centered and even. I'm going to take my piece of transfer tape, and I'm going to try, I don't always do the best at this, but I'm going to try to line up the grid with the lines on the vinyl. That's not perfect, but it'll be fine. Okay, so we've got our numbers here. We're going to take our straight line, make sure everything is lined up. I'm going to try and cut this down to help us even further. So we really want this to butt up to this gold line here. We want everything to fit. So I think about right there should be good. And now obviously this curves a little bit, so we're going to tape this down against this edge so we don't have any weird curving or anything. Now this would be a million times easier if we were using a straight tumbler, which is what I used in my original video, but I think that the football tumbler just makes it more authentic. I'm going to hinge back my transfer tape, make sure everything is stuck down. I would recommend definitely making sure that your decal is stuck to the transfer tape by removing the backing before you get your decal into position. It'll be a lot easier to apply to your cup if you know that it will release from the backing easily. I had a heck of a time doing that. Now we're just going to go through each little section, make sure the vinyl is stuck down really, really well. Use our squeegee. So you want it to release from the transfer tape. Okay, so there's our first yard line. And now I'm going to repeat this exact same process on the other side. Okay, so for this one, as you can see, I just decided to place it by hand.
And it turned out just fine. So if you don't want to go through all of that measuring and stuff, you don't need to. It'll be fine. Now that we've got these lines on, we can place our decal. Now, our decal that we're going to use, I think I cut at 3.75 inches in width. And I want to see if that's going to be too wide or just right. Now, obviously the decal size that you choose is going to depend on the size of tumbler you're using, how much space you want the decal to take up, and the orientation of your decal, basically. So I usually will size my decals between like 3 to 4 inches in width, or 3.5 to 4 inches high, based on the aspect ratio of the decal. And I think it's going to be perfect. All right, so I'm going to put my transfer tape on. Yay, I'm glad I didn't want to recut that. Okay, so with our transfer tape, you can see I've got a little bit of excess here, and I'm going to use that to keep my decal in place. I'm going to just make sure that this looks even to my eye. I'm not going to measure, just want to make sure that it's centered to me. Then I'm going to stick down one of those ends of the transfer tape. And because of the curved nature of our tumbler, I am going to make some slices in our transfer tape and decal backing so that we can lay all of this down really nicely. So we'll have that come down that way. That will come down there. And then we'll have this one come down here. So for our first layer, I'm going to come here, pull back this backing. Now this is definitely awkward to do on a curved tumbler. Again, if you're using a straight tumbler, you'll have a much better time. And you just really want to take your time with this decal process. Be patient, go slowly, because you don't want to get this on here and then have it be messed up and then have to take it off and cut it again. So just take your time and make sure that you do this right the first time. And once you're done with that part of the transfer tape, you can just cut it away and then move on to your next piece. Okay, so there's our decal. And now I did cut some thin white stripes, and I wanted to see, I didn't know if I wanted to do this or not, but I was thinking that maybe I could either put them, and we're just going to test it out and see what it looks like. Could either put them up against our yard lines to make everything even. So just lining them up right next to our gold striping, basically, to fill in this gap. And I think I like how that looks. It kind of just makes it look more even and polished and put together. So we're going to leave that like that. Obviously, you don't have to do this. It's totally optional. I just thought it would be a nice finishing touch. Didn't know how it was going to look, though, on the cup, so I had to test it out. And I'll just, again, finish that all the way around the bottom. So that is the green side of our tumbler, and now we're going to move on to the football side. To make this a little bit easier on myself, I did space these out in Silhouette Studio so that everything is even, and so I can hopefully just place this all down in one piece. I will put this football file in my Facebook group if you want to use it, and then I'll post links to the yard lines, the decal, and all the other stuff that we're using. Basically just those two things, but I'll post this for you in the Facebook group if you want to use it. I sized this decal so that we would have just about maybe 1 to 1/2 inch on the top and bottom edges before our lines. And so I'm hoping that that works out. I'm also going to cut away all of this excess backing, and I'm going to reuse this transfer tape. I'll just set it aside. This is going to make it easier for us to get our lines and everything in the right place. I know it kind of seems like a waste of vinyl, but I think that it's the easiest way to do it. You could do it however you want though. So from here, what we can do is lay our decals down with the backing still on them and make sure that everything is going to overlap the right way, curve the right way, and that we'll have the right amount of spacing on the top and the bottom. Okay, so there's that, but you can see that this space over here is much greater than this space, which means our laces are not centered, and that is not what we want. So we're going to replace this down. And that's going to be my primary focus here. I want to make sure that the laces are centered. So what I'm going to do, take some tape and I'm going to place this down so that I can measure and make sure that my laces are centered on my cup. So we're at just about 3 inches on that side, and we are not even close to 3 inches on the other side. So, okay, we're at 6. All right, there we go. We did it. We are centered. So now I'm going to lay these down. Make sure they stay in the right spot. Okay, now from here, our decals are secured. So what I'm going to do is take this and just carefully cut one edge of that down. I'm actually going to secure that down too, just because I'm nervous. So I'm going to lay this piece down first. Okay, and now we can go through and we can apply our other football piece. I'm going to take this and I'm going to remove the backing. Lay this down as smoothly as I can along this curve. And again, just like with the green side, you want to take your time and make sure that you place this the best you can. We don't want any bubbles or wrinkling on these curves. So just take this process really slowly, because it's going to look a lot better in the end. I'm going to take my heat gun and loosen this up a little bit so that it can curve a little better and not lift and bubble. Now I'm taking my scraper tool while the vinyl is kind of warm, and I'm pushing it down onto the cup so that it will curve with the curve of the tumbler, just like that. And now I can take my knife and I'm going to cut along our gold line to cut off the excess vinyl and make sure everything meets up really nice and seamlessly. And then we'll repeat that same process on the top. All right, so there's our football side. And now we just did a ton of vinyl work, and I don't want any of this to lift or anything when we put it under epoxy. So I am going to seal it with a coat of the glitter glue, and I'm just going to use the regular glitter glue, not the one mixed with water, just straight glitter glue all over the entire cup.
I let my glitter glue dry for a full 2 hours before I added my final 2 coats of epoxy. Each of those final coats was about 20 milliliters, and once those were cured, we are all done. So here is the final result. I really, really love how this one turned out. I think I definitely like it more than the original, even though it's very similar. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you are not already. I upload brand new videos every Tuesday and Saturday. And of course, let me know what you think of this design down below in the comments. And if you remake this design, be sure to tag me in your photos so I can see how you customize it, make it your own, and show you some love. Okay, that's it for this tutorial. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Love you. Bye.